Good afternoon and welcome to the May Ordinary Council meeting. Item 1, welcome to country. Councillor Greg James is an apology, so we will not have that. Item 2, acknowledgement. We, Greater Shepparton City Council, acknowledge the Yorta peoples of the land which now comprises Greater Shepparton. We pay our respect to their tribal elders, we celebrate their continuing culture and we acknowledge the memory of their ancestors. Item 3, privacy notice. This public meeting is being streamed live via our Facebook page and made available for public access on our website along with the official minutes of this meeting. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, it is assumed that your consent is given in the event that your image is broadcast to the public. It is also assumed that your consent is given to the use and disclosure of any information that you share at the meeting, including personal or sensitive information to any person who accesses those recordings or minutes. Item 4, governance principles. Council considers that the recommendations contained in this agenda gives effect to the overarching governance principles stated in section 9.2 of the Local Government Act 2020. These principles are as follows, and councillors, they're listed number 1 to 9 on page 6 of the agenda. Councillors, we go to page 7 of the agenda, item 5, apologies. There is a recommendation. Can I please have a councillor put that forward as a motion?
I move that that the apology from Councillor Greg James be noted.
Thank you, Councillor Dobson. Can I please have someone second that? Councillor Summer. All in favour? Carried. Item 6, declarations of conflict of interest. Councillors, do we have any conflicts this afternoon?
Yes, Harley. Item 12.4 relates to the CEO's performance review. As I'm not deciding on the matter, I don't have a technical conflict of interest, but I will leave the room for that discussion.
Peter, we appreciate that. Item 7, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. Councillors, there is a recommendation. Can I please have someone put that forward as a motion? Councillor Adam.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sally. Move that motion on page, wherever it is now, I've just lost it. Page 7, is it? At the minutes of the 16th of March 2021 council meeting.
Actually,
That's correct. That's interesting.
but because Councillor Adam
Was not here.
technically not here, he wouldn't be able to move those minutes,
No.
would he? Yeah, so sorry, Councillor Adam, I can't have you move that. Can I please have another councillor move that, if you can remember back that far, if you were here? Thanks.
I move a recommendation to a motion that the minutes of the 16th March 2021 council meeting, 18th April 2023 council meeting and 2nd May 2023 additional council meeting as circulated be confirmed.
Thank you, Councillor Spinks. Can I please have a councillor? Thank you, Councillor Brophy.
Second that motion.
Thank you. All in favour? Councillors, we now go to page 8 of the agenda, which is public question time. I'll now hand over to our CEO, Peter, to read them out.
Thanks, Mayor Sally. The following public question was submitted to Council in accordance with the governance rules from Sam Pincus. And the question was, I find the noise pollution from vehicular traffic in the Shepparton CBD and surrounding areas to be bad. Noise pollution is now widely recognised to have significant health impacts. Does the Council recognise this? What measures is the Council employing to first understand the problem and second, mitigate the effects on residents? Our response to that is, Sam, that the Old Dookie Road is a designated B double route as it links the industrial areas to the highways and arterial roads, in this case Doyle's Road. Large heavy vehicles such as B doubles must stay on the designated routes or they require a National Heavy Vehicle Regulator's permit. The National Heavy Vehicle Regulator Safety and Compliance Officers are responsible for permits, non-compliance issues and noise regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Item 9, deputations of petition, and the 9.1 petition regarding Lake Bartlett Taktura. Councillors, there is a recommendation. Can I please have someone put that forward as a motion? Councillor Spinks.
I'll move that the council receive and note the petition titled Lake Bartlett Taktura in accordance with Governance Rule 81.
Thank you, Councillor Spinks. Can I have a councillor second that? Thank you, Councillor.
I'll second that motion. Mayor Sally.
Actually, sorry, can I just get to, do we have to speak to and against this, or are we just noting it, don't we?
Yes. Noting it.
Yeah, yeah. So all in favour? Motion carried. Councillors, we now go to page 10 of the agenda, item 10.1, which is contracts awarded under delegation April 2023. There is a recommendation. Can I please have a councillor put that forward as a motion?
I'll,
Oh, yeah. Councillor Adam.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sally. I'd like to move the motion that the council note no contract awarded under delegation pursuant to a formal tender process for the reporting period, and note the request for tender advertised but not yet awarded.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Can I have a councillor second that motion? Councillor Dobson. Councillor Adam, would you like to speak to the motion?
Extremely briefly, because obviously nothing's been awarded at this time. There's about, 6 or 7 different items there. I just want to make comment to the Queensland Fruit Fly Trapping Grid monitoring. I think that's a very valuable program for our municipality. It's good to see that we're out there again, trying to secure our industry. So hopefully we'll get a good tendering for that. And I know it's been happening for quite a few years now, and let's hope it continues.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Adam. Councillor Dobson, would you like to speak to the motion?
thank you, Mayor Sally.
Thank you, Councillor Dobson. Are there councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Any closing comments, Councillor Adam?
Thank you, Mayor Sally.
Councillors, we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried and approved. We now go to page 13 of the agenda, item 10.2, April 2023 monthly finance report. There is a recommendation. Can I put that forward as a motion? Councillor Abdullah.
Sorry, I'll move the recommendation on page 20 as a motion, which says that the council receive and note the April 2023 monthly financial report.
Abdullah, can I have a councillor second that motion? Councillor Brophy.
Sally, I second that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Abdullah, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you. Very briefly, this is a monthly agenda item, and we regularly monitor our council's financial position. And the April reports presents the council's actual forecast performance compared to the budget for the 10 months ending 30th of April. This this report comes with details around the operating performance, around the capital works performance, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement, and capital works statement. The report that's included in the monthly in this agenda is quite comprehensive. It's self-explanatory as well, but of course all the attachments that are here will give further insights into the assessments that have been outlined here. Quickly, I am pleased to see about the capital works that the capital works delivery of capital works year to date is on track, and it's 77% of the adopted Q3 forecast has been delivered at the reporting date. So we just have to continue to monitor this capital works area. Around our operating position, it's very important to keep an eye on the underlying operating results. So at the moment, it shows that the projected full year underlying operating position of 19.64 million deficit remains favorable. So at the time of adopting the budget, this underlying operating position was at $21.61 million. However, it has improved, and now it is at $19.64 million. However, it is again, it's not favorable when we compare it to the Q3 forecast, which was $19.08 million. So those movements are to be, we will continue to monitor, but the main point is that we should not be having an underlying operating deficit. That's the bottom line. And as long as we keep this figure, if we have this figure and this deficit doesn't change into a surplus, our organization has to closely monitor and also has to make financial decisions which are sustainable and which we can, and through which we can ensure the sustainability of the organization. And of course, with the organization, it's all about community, that what is it that we can deliver and what are the services that we can deliver to our community. So it's a very important indicator that we all have to keep in mind. The report also tells us that the financial impact, it tells us about the financial impacts of the October 2022 floods. Looking at the figures, it might seem that we have received revenues, additional funding and insurance claim, but the reality is that even after accounting for all the flood-related funding and the insurance claims, we still have a net cost of $1.4 million in this financial year due to the floods. So that is something that needs to be kept in mind. Other than that, yeah, it's business as usual, and we need to closely monitor the assessment.
Abdullah, Councillor Brogan.
Yes, I'd like to. Thank you, Mayor Saleh. Councillor Abdullah really summed it up beautifully. It is a snapshot of the year, and we do this monthly by month at every ordinary council meeting, just to see where we are, where we're tracking, and of course, importantly, what is brought to us that the public don't see are briefings throughout that period of time as well, to give us update and for us to question the financiers as to where we are and how we're looking. And so it is really point in time stuff, and we are getting to the pointy end of the financial year in a couple of months' time, or next month at the end of June. If you look at particularly at our financial health, our liquidity is looking very good. In our adopted budget was at about 124%, and forecasted year to date, we're looking at about 165%. Now, this is really important because it actually means that we can meet our bills. So if we have to, we can meet it. And we are very solvent and we are very healthy, but we cannot be complacent. And Councillor Abdullah really pointed out what we're actually looking at, and that is certainly the adjusted underlying deficit. As was mentioned, it was adopted at about a $21.5 million. That was what we were looking at as a deficit. We've brought that back, well done to those in the executive and particularly finance area, back to $19.6 million. It does fluctuate, and it has fluctuated throughout the year, but we've got to bear in mind with all of that we are still in post-COVID. There are still businesses that are struggling out there. We are on the back, and the council is affected just as like anybody else out in the community. The impact is still being assessed in terms of financial, what's happening to council here, and what we still have to outlay in regards to the amenities that we've got to recover. The rate capping that's been in place over a number of years now. As we said, not only the floods, but the influences in terms of interest rates that are going through the roof there, the inflation rate, the insurance costs, the construction costs, all of those come into calculation. So when we look at it, and as Councillor Abdullah pointed out, that it is looking a bit more favourable than what we had adopted, but there's still not time for complacency at all. So we've still got 6 weeks to the end of the financial year, and of course we're in the realms of adopting the new budget for next year as well. But overall, a snapshot for April.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Councillor Dobson.
Thank you, Mayor Saleh. I think we should congratulate our infrastructure department who bought the Welsford Street Mall in $3 million under budget. I think that should be celebrated, and I congratulate them for doing such a great job within the time frame. And just like to thank the shopkeepers in the Welsford Street Mall who had to put up with a lot of inconvenience and what have you. Again, on the back of what other councillors have said about the floods and also COVID, I quite often make mention that COVID, will be with us for quite some time, and I think all our thinking has got to be conservative. And I know even within our own organisation that COVID is still with us. It's still within other sections of the community. So we've got to be careful about that. But again, on the back of that, we had those devastating floods. There are so many people who've been impacted, and I think the council did an excellent job over the term in helping out where they could in terms of getting rid of, excess flood damaged infrastructure. And council should be congratulated, and I congratulate the officers in doing so. But there's been on the report that I'm reading at the moment, there's a whole section on the impact of the October 2022 flood event. I won't go through it all, but as been said before, we haven't seen the last of it. We hope that the state government will continue to assist regional Victorians in flood recovery, but I think a conservative outlook has got to be the way we go. And in particular, where our rates increases for the next financial year is in line with the state expectations. And whilst we're able to do 2.0 increases over the last 2 years, we now need to face a reality check and say this is going to be a brand new year.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Dobson. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Adam.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sally. Just briefly, I won't repeat everything the other councillors have said because they've covered it really well, going over the same things. I just want to make a point to say that to the community in general that our monthly financial reports, quarterly reports, projections, budget conversations, they probably account for 30 to 40% of our briefings. And I want people to know that even though some councillors don't always repeat what other councillors have said in our meetings, it's a primary concern of this council or of any council, the finances are. And I just want the community to be sure and understand that we pay it a lot of attention. It takes up a lot of our time in our discussions and question asking and answers. So just be sure, be confident that we are over it, I suppose, as best as we possibly can be.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? No, we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried and opposed. Councillors, we now go to page 17 of the agenda, item 10.3, which is S5, delegation to the Chief Executive Officer. Councillors, there is a recommendation. Can I please have someone put it forward as a motion? Dobson.
Thank you, Mayor Sally. I'll move that the council, in the exercise of the power conferred by section 11, brackets 1, brackets B of the Local Government Act 2020, call the Act, resolves that 1, there be delegated to the person holding the position, acting in or performing the duties of Chief Executive Officer for the powers, duties and functions set out in the attached instrument of delegation to the Chief Executive Officer, subject to the conditions and limitations specified in that instrument. 2, the instrument comes into force immediately. The Chief Executive Officer's signature is affixed to the instrument. 3, on the coming into force of the instrument, all previous delegations to the Chief Executive Officer are revoked. And 4, the duties and functions set out in the instrument must be performed and the powers set out in the instruments must be executed in accordance with any guidelines or policies of council that may from time to time, adopt.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Dobson. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please?
Mayor Sally, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Councillor Dobson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sally. It's well known that councillors have those 2 main functions. One is to delegate powers to the Chief Executive Officer so that the day-to-day functionality of the council is not interrupted, and 2, that we set the budget, which will be done in the June meeting. The delegations are a critical governance tool of the council, and it is done every 6 months. As I said before, the most important delegation issued by the council is to the CEO, and this again allows the CEO to sub-delegate where necessary in order to perform the day-to-day duties of the business. The previous instrument of delegation we authorised back in November of 2022, and this is just an update. There's really no material difference. All it does is make sure that we're in accordance with the rules, the delegations Organisation Service. The key change proposed is the rewording of section 1.3 to provide more clarity in the interpretation of this provision, and the substance of the provision remains unchanged. I think that's the important issue so that everybody understands where we are. Thank you, Mayor Sally.
Thank you, Councillor Dobson. Councillor Adam, would you like to speak to the motion?
I reserve my right, Mayor Sally, to speak later on, please.
Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Before I go to the vote, Councillor Adam, would you like to
Thank you, I won't speak to it.
reply? No? No, very good. Any closing comments, Councillor Dobson? Has been.
Thank you, Mayor Sally.
Very good. We will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 20 of the agenda, item 10.6, instrument of delegation to members of council staff. There is a recommendation. Please have the councillor put that forward as a motion.
I suppose, Mayor Sally, since I moved the last one, I might as well move this one as well. And the next.
That is your call.
I move that in the exercise of the powers conferred by the legislation referred to in attached instrument of delegation, Greater Shepparton City Council, in brackets council, resolves that there be delegated to the members of council staff holding, acting or in performing the duties of the offices or positions referred to in the attached instrument of delegation to members of council staff, the powers, duties and functions set out in that instrument, subject to the conditions and limitations specified in that instrument. 2, the instrument comes into force immediately the Chief Executive Officer's signature is affixed to the instrument. 3, on the coming into force of the instrument, all previous delegations to members of council staff, in brackets, other than the Chief Executive Officer, close brackets, are revoked. 4, the duties and functions set out in the instrument must be performed, and the powers set out in the instruments must be executed in accordance with any guides, lines or policies of council that council may from time to time adopt.
Thank you, councillor Dobson. Can I have a councillor second that motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sally. I'll second the motion.
This is going to be efficient. Thank you, councillor Adams. Councillor Dobson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, the executive summary points it all out that the council is not a natural person and therefore it can only act in 2 ways, which is by resolution, which is what we're talking about today, or through other acts on its behalf. For other acts to act on the council's behalf, the relevant council powers must be delegated by the council. So it's unfair to think that the CEO would be referred to on all issues. Therefore, the sub-delegations, I would call it, or delegation to members of council staff, is important for the day-to-day workings of the council so that things can be done on a day-to-day basis without holding up, for example, contracts and other things within the delegation powers. And so this is, again, a legislative requirement, but it must be delegated by resolution of the council directly to council officers, and that's what we're doing today.
Very good. Thank you, councillor Dobson. Councillor Adam, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sally. Seeing as I spoke so extensively to the last motion, I'll choose not to speak to this one.
You've got nothing left to say. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Closing comments, councillor Dobson?
No, thank you, Mayor Sally.
We will now.
I was going to vote.
Oh, okay, yeah. Councillors, we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 23 of the agenda, item 10.5, which is S18 Instrument Sub-Delegation Environment Protection Act 2017. There is a recommendation. Can I please have a councillor put that forward as a motion? Not all at once.
Well, Mayor Sally, yes, I'll like to move the motion printed on page 23. The recommendation is in the exercise of the power conferred by S242-2 of the Environment Protection Act 2017 and the instrument of delegation of the Environment Protection Authority under the Act dated 4th of June 2021, Greater Shepparton City Council in brackets, resolves that the members of council staff referred to in the instrument attached be appointed and authorised as set out in the instrument. The instrument comes into force immediately upon being signed by council's Chief Executive Officer and remains in force until council determines to vary or revoke it.
Thank you, councillor Adam. Can I have a councillor second that motion?
It would be awful if I didn't back up councillor Adam because he's been very good to me. So I'll second that recommendation.
Thank you, councillor Dobson. Councillor Adam, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, look, again, it's more of it's a thing driven by the Act. So I think the executive summary really covers it perfectly, so I'm going to read it. Delegations are a critical governance tool of the council. Most council's decisions are not made at council meetings, and the effective functioning of the council would not be possible if they were. Instead, most decision-making power is allocated by formal delegations. Section 437 of the Environment Protection Act 2017 provides for council to delegate powers, duties and functions to council officers. The Environmental Protection Authority provides for the specific powers, duties and functions that are delegated to council. This instrument provides specified council officers with the powers, duties and functions to allow them to make day-to-day decisions necessary to provide responsive and high-quality services to the community. So that's about it.
Very good. Thank you, councillor Adam. Councillor Dobson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just quickly, thank you, Mr. Sally. The Environment Protection Agency has conferred powers relating to the regulation of residential noise, litter, waste and on-site wastewater management. And so it's a specific delegation.
Thank you, councillor Dobson. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Councillor Adam, any closing comments?
Thank you, Mayor Sally.
Councillors, we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 26 of the agenda, item 11.1, which is Affordable Housing Reference Group nomination of community representatives. There is a recommendation. Can I please have someone put that forward as a motion? Can I have a mover? Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Sali. I've put forward the recommendation on page 26 that the council appoint the following community representatives to the Affordable Housing Reference Group for a 2-year term commencing the 16th of May 2023 and concluding on the 20th of May 2025. They being Tanya Tonks, Terry Court, Kathleen Mills and Denise Mosley, and formally acknowledge and thank Bruce Mattia as the outgoing community representative.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Can I have a second that motion, please?
I was very happy to second that motion.
Very good. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, firstly, congratulations to those 4 being nominated and hopefully recommended or been recommended and be passed today to be on that advisory committee. Advisory committees are there to play a very important role for council. They are a working horse committee in terms of the doing, and really they add so much value to what we do here at council. They represent the community and the business voice, and they really do specialise in areas and bring together recommendations to council for decisions. And also how pleasing it is that we have to decide, and they did through a process for members that make up that particular committee, particularly when there's an oversubscription of people who are nominated for it. So I certainly congratulate those that have been recommended for appointment, and to those who may have missed out and that may have put their hand up for that, and also other members of the community out there as well, who have a keen and passionate interest in this particular place in terms of affordable housing, but also other committees. Please put forward your suggestions to the advisory committees. Put forward your suggestions to councillors or via an affiliated group that you may be part of that can advocate for you. So congratulations for those that have been nominated. This is a very important advisory committee. It's been reformed somewhat from 12 months ago, so look forward to seeing what recommendations come from that.
Councillor Brophy. Councillor Dobson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sali. Been summed up very, very well by Deputy Mayor Brophy. I'd just like to again highlight Bruce Mattia, his contribution over the years. Bruce is an architect in town and he's a very well community-minded sort of person, and he would have done a great job. I'd like to think over the next few years, and I don't know how this sits, but we've got a very diverse community within Shepparton, and I'd like to think that the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee actually represents the whole of the community. For example, we've got a lot of migrant community, refugee community, we've got a lot of homeless community. So, you know, Shepparton, the profile of Shepparton is changing over the time, or it has changed over the time, and will continue to change over the next 20 or 30 years. So I think it's to our responsibility as a council to ensure that the community is well represented. So congratulations on the 4 that got nominated, and again with Councillor Brophy, he said, I'd hate to think that those who weren't successful take that as, oh, well, you know, I'm not going to do any more. I'd like to think that on a day-to-day basis, that many members of the community could have an influence on affordable housing throughout not only Shepparton, but right throughout the Goulburn Valley. It's a big issue, and we must keep it front of mind.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Dobson. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Adam?
Just more of a, it might be a clarification, Sally, it's called the Affordable Housing Reference Group, not the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. The point of difference there.
Good figure.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Adam. Is there anything else? Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? All right, any closing comments, Councillor Brophy?
No, thank you, Mayor Sali.
Very good. We will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 31 of the agenda, item 11.2, telecommunications tower, Echuca Road, Marupna. There is a recommendation. Can I please have a councillor put that forward as a motion? Councillor Adam.
Sally, I'd like to move the motion on page 31 of the agenda. I don't think I'll read it out. It'll take quite a long time. I think it's there for everyone to see. It's regarding the new telecommunications. Unless councillors want me to read it out.
It's across page 31 and...
Yeah, correct, and 32, sorry, correct. Which makes it even longer.
So you're not going to read it out? You'll move that as,
Councillor.
that's good. Can I have a councillor please second that motion? I need a councillor Abdullah.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Adam, would you like to speak to the motion?
Look, it's all there in the agenda, and I think hopefully the community have got all the information. There's been a pretty exhaustive process through applications to get this thing up and running. I think everything's been done correctly. I can see there was a lot of other places of land that were possibly suitable, but this is, a judge has been the most suitable. Doesn't encroach on too much residential land in that respect, or it doesn't at all. In fact, there's already an asset there, some water tanks on this particular site. This is probably the best location for this tower. There were some objections which were overcome, but unfortunately this happens with any of these towers to a degree. Unfortunately, or fortunately as the case may be, we need to have these communications towers up for communication, obviously for safety purposes, for all sorts of things. So even though people do object sometimes to the aesthetics of these types of things, I think every measure has been taken to reduce that impact on the community, and I'm pretty comfortable with it.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Councillor Abdullah, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just quickly that yes, I endorse this motion, and obviously, I mean, there's a huge demand for telecommunications facility, and this particular facility will provide increased mobile coverage, which is what our community needs. And of course, in terms of the objections that were received, we were given a briefing, and we have looked into the observations, the objections, and council officers' response to those objections. And I'm satisfied that those concerns have been addressed, and this particular permit, it aligns with council's policies and strategies. So happy to endorse this.
Thank you, Councillor Abdullah. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Sarley. With any communication towers that are put up, and that there's always a nervousness around towers being put up in any area, and any area in particularly in regards to residential where people live. And I'm sure if there was one erected not far from my place, I'd have certain concerns about that too. That's natural. I think people do that. There are legalities in place to which these particular companies that want to put up the towers have to comply with. And our council officers have been meticulously through all of that, all of the regulations that they have to abide to. And we have been briefed on the compliances and what it looks like in terms of all of that. We appreciate the objectors putting forward their objections. We would expect that. And we do appreciate that bringing forward. It is appropriately zoned. There is strategic justification in having it there, and all compliances have been met from what we have been informed with, and what has been presented to us. So we see no objection in regards to allowing that particular motion to go forward.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Dobson.
Thank you, Mayor Sarley. I want to also refer to the 13 objections that came in. And I think the one that I suppose would grab everybody's attention is number 2, the potential adverse impacts of emissions from the tower. And I'm looking at the officer's response here, and VCAT, for example, they've given us 2 examples in this document where they voted in favour of allowing the towers, and they talked about the emissions, and there is I suppose the VCAT is essentially bound to apply the ARPANCA standard. Now, without going into great detail, this is a standard, I suppose, guide to emissions, and they say it's not the role of VCAT to second guess the experts' authority. So, and that's really what we're going on. It's we're saying that that we're being guided by what the experts say as well. I'm no expert at this sort of thing, but I think that we must always acknowledge that there is some trepidation around these sorts of towers, and I congratulate those people who objected. It's the way that democracy goes, but I must say that I'm in favour of the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Dobson. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Summer.
Thank you. The take-home message for me was that there's no master plan for that area. So without the master plan, our hands are tied in terms of them ticking all the planning boxes. If it did get challenged by any member of the community, it would likely not be successful because without a master plan, like I said, our hands are tied. So it might be time to start those discussions.
Yep, very good. Thank you, councillor Summer. Any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? No, we will now, closing comments, councillor Adam?
Thank you, Mayor Sally.
We will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillor,
Sally, I don't know what the formal way to do this is, but can we please turn the aircon down? It is freezing.
oh, we need someone to, we'll have someone second that.
I'll go to the motion, will I?
We have someone
Sorry.
second that. and speak for it again. Yeah, it is cold.
Less than comfortable.
We haven't gone to the boat yet, Pete.
Already on? Good.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Sits within his delegation. Which we just approved.
Lucky we approved it.
Couldn't have done that without the delegates.
Councillors, we go to page 43 of the agenda, item 11.3, which is the minor and major events grants, round 2, 2022, section 2023. There is a recommendation. Can I please have a councillor put that forward as a motion? Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Sally. I would like to put forward the following recommendation. That council note the successful applicants awarded funding under the delegated authority for round 2 of the 2022-23 minor and major event grants program as follows. I won't read them all out, but please, you'll find them on page 43.
Thank you very much, councillor Brophy. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Latson. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just very briefly, this is round 2, and when I look at it, the first thing that I looked at there, 17 particular events for $17,000. Now that's bang for bucks, isn't it? Like, I mean, seriously, 17 particular events that can get up because we've actually put money towards that. It is ratepayer money, and it's been put back into the ratepayers' events, back into the local community there. We've got ones for seniors, we've got ones for historical societies, there's ones there for different churches, for different primary schools, for the Riding Association, the Reconciliation Group, different multicultural groups as well. It really does cover the broad church, can I say, that covers Greater Shepparton here. And I think this is a fantastic program, and look forward to it continuing.
Thank you, councillor Brophy. Councillor Latson, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor Sally.
Thank you, councillor Latson. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Are there any closing comments, councillor Brophy?
No, thank you.
Councillors, we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 49 of the agenda, which is item 12.1, designation of confidentiality of information reports. The following report and attachments have been designated confidential by the Chief Executive Officer under Governance Rules 107 and in accordance with the definition of confidential information in the Local Government Act 2020 Act, item 12.4, membership of the Positive Ageing Advisory Committee, and item 12.4, Chief Executive Officer Performance Review 2022 and Remuneration Review. These documents contain information which is consistent with the Local Government Act 2020 definition of personal information, being information which, if released, would result in the unreasonable disclosure of information about any person or their personal affairs. Councillors, there is a recommendation. Can I please have someone put that forward as a motion?
Mayor Sally, I'll move the motion on page 49 that pursuant to section 66(1) of the Local Government Act 2020 resolve that the council meeting be closed to members of the public for consideration of the following confidential items. Item 1, 12.3, membership of the Positive Ageing Advisory Committee. Point 2, item 12.4, 2022 remuneration review.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Can I please have a councillor second that motion? Councillor Dobson. All in favour? Motion carried. We will now close the meeting to the public. we please have the meeting back over? Thank you. Welcome back. Councillors, we now go to page 13, which is on item 13, which is on page 49 of the agenda, documents for signing and sealing being received. Now go to page 50 of the agenda, item 14.1.1, councillor activities, April 2023. There is a recommendation. Can I please have a councillor put that forward as a motion?
Sure.
Looking forward to this. Councillor Ladson. Can I have a councillor second this motion? Oh, no, do you want to read that you want to obviously move that recommendation?
I'd like to move the recommendation that the council receive and note the summary of the councillors' community interactions and informal meetings of councillors.
Thank you, councillor Ladson. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please?
I'll second the motion, Mayor Sally.
Councillor Adam, thank you. Councillor Ladson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Sally.
Buckle in.
Start the clock, 6 minutes. Filatos deep dive. The Heritage Advisory Committee meetings 2023 that I chose to have a seat on, and will thank them for the planning behind the scenes, putting the successful Heritage Open Days over the weekend just gone. A highlight for me was the Heritage Talk by Jamie and Lynn at Brown Shepparton Plasterworks, and I, along with many others, look forward to what the future holds for that particular heritage site. The Night Moon Gala Ball 2023 Hunter Boyle Children's Swim Program, which is very important, particularly with the current shortage of swim instructors. The Probus Club of Marupna had a breakfast in the park that tantalised the taste buds. The Australian Institute of Company Directors course, Councillor Brophy highly recommends. Cultural Heritage Awards ceremony attended by Councillor Brophy to my left and I at Sam. Congratulations to all the award winners. River Connect, River Rubbish Cleanup, Pollution Pirates. Well done to those pollution pirates, myself included, who rolled up their sleeves and hooked 13 shopping trolleys ashore, amongst other rubbish and pollution. 100th birthday celebration, congratulations and celebrations for Murray Slee, who kindly gifted his mayoral jacket to the current mayor, Shane Sarley. The Anzac Day Dawn Service, Shepparton and Murchison, the Anzac Day Service and Wreath Laying Ceremony, Shepparton, Dookie, Marupna, Murchison, Tatura and Toolamba. It was an honour to lay a wreath on behalf of Greater Shepparton City Council. Pat and Tina's BP Service Station, 50th anniversary celebration, with a massive crowd of around 500 guests invited to move. And that's a wrap for Lato's Deep Dive. Back to you, man.
Very good, Councillor Ladson. Councillor Adam, would you like to speak to the motion?
Speechless. Ali? No, I think Councillor Gladstone covered everything there and needed to be covered.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Councillor Ladson. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Are there any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Councillor Dobson.
I just have one comment, and I note that the recommendation, the last word is councillors with an apostrophe S. I just note that.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Dobson. Good pick up. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? No, any closing comments, Councillor Ladson?
Councillor Dobson took my closing comment.
Very good. Councillors, we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 52 of the agenda, item 14.2.1, oaths and affirmations of office. Councillors, I just want to note that section 30 of the Local Government Act 2020 requires that councillors take an oath or affirmation of office, that it be administered by the Chief Executive Officer, dated and signed before the Chief Executive Officer, and recorded in the minutes of the council. The following oaths and affirmations are taken by councillors, and they're listed on page 52 of the agenda. Item 15, notice of motion, amendment or rescission, nil received. Item 16, urgent business not included on the agenda, nil received. Item 17, close of meeting, which I will do now at 3:49 p.m. Thanks, councillors. Good work.